Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to cover the basics of Bellum so you can play your first game while enjoying yourself and not having to learn things on the fly. This video is for beginners who haven't had a chance to play the game yet, but may also be helpful if you've played a couple of games and are looking to learn something new. And I've also marked chapters in the video if there's something specific you've been looking for that you'd like to skip to. This video was recorded during Supporter Edition closed alpha playtesting, so if you're watching this video somewhere in the distant future, some things may have changed. Alright, there's a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. When you open the server browser, you'll see a list of servers, and during playtest the developers open as many as are needed at the time, so you could just hop in one that has some openings so you don't have to wait in a queue. For this video I'm just hopping into the training server, which is an excellent place for you to go if you need to test out your video or audio settings before actually playing the game. When you load into the game you'll see this screen to select your faction, and once you do that you'll see the deployment menu, which has just been revamped a few days before I recorded this and looks really nice now. So this is what the deployment screen looks like. You'll see this when you first join a match and if you need to redeploy later in the game. So in the middle of the screen is the map, and that circle that's highlighted is the AO, the area of operation, which is where you're going to be focused on during this game. And on the left side of the screen you see your faction menu with your faction name at the top left corner, and then a list of squads. The first squad is the platoon command squad, which I would recommend you stay away from during your first couple games until you get a hang of it. And then you see squads 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, etc. And within each squad you can see all of the roles that are available. Currently on my screen you can see that only the cell leader, the squad leader position, is available, and that is so that squads don't open up right now with full squads playing without a squad leader. So you just might have to wait for someone to take the squad leader position first before you can choose your role. And if you are someone who enjoys playing in leadership positions, I'd recommend you at least play a few games before jumping into it, just so you get a hang of how everything in Bellum works. And I'm putting the Satyr deployment menu on the screen here if you want to take a look at the squad setup that they have, and just note that it's different than Al-Zalam, and the Rangers have different setups as well, so not every squad is the same across factions. On the right side of the screen you'll see your loadout, so I selected the cell leader position and I have an assault rifle, frag grenades, and smoke grenades. Above that you see a couple of numbers. On the right side you see 100% reserves, which is basically how many lives your team has left, and then 0% influence. You gain influence by being in the AO, so you want your influence number to go up and you want your reserves not to go down. When you're ready to deploy, you can always click these boxes on screen. The FOB, the forward operating base, is always available to you, and then under certain conditions you can deploy on your squad leader or fire team leader. You can also click in the bottom right corner of the screen to choose wherever you want to deploy. This can be done even when your team is in the AO, but you can only deploy on a squad leader or a fire team leader if they have a squad mate with them. You also can't deploy on them if they are currently in contact. And that's why it becomes important in this game if you've lost squad mates that you reconstitute, which means you need to disengage, break contact, and move away from the enemy so that your teammates can redeploy. The area of operation can change match to match, so although you see where it is on the screen here, it could be the location to the south of that or to the west of that. So you will have different environments to deal with. And lastly, if you deploy in a match as soon as it starts, you're going to see staging at the top of your screen with a countdown. Since Al-Zalam is on home turf here, they are the only ones who can enter the AO during the staging phase. So if you are Al-Zalam, one of the first things your squad leader might tell you is just start running into the AO. If you are Rangers or Satyr, you have to wait for the staging phase to end. But regardless, all teams spend the staging phase planning the initial movements of the game, and that information, at least as it pertains to your squad, will eventually be passed down by your squad leader. Alright, I'm going to talk about movement now, which probably sounds weird, but there's some interesting features this game has. First off, there's a way in this game to very carefully adjust your movement speed. When you're just walking around in this game, if you scroll up on your scroll wheel, you'll start walking faster, and if you scroll down, you'll start walking slower. In the clip you're seeing on screen right now, this is the slowest you can walk. And in the clip you're seeing right now, this is the fastest you can go without sprinting. And then of course you can hold shift to sprint and your character will not have his gun up. I'll talk about your watch and your compass in a little bit, but something to pay attention to is the slower you walk, the more your watch is visible on screen, and the faster you walk, the less it's visible. Your character does have stamina, but they've done a really good job reducing things on screen in this game, like inventory and a sprint meter or anything like that. And you can listen closely to your character and start hearing when he's becoming exhausted. At this point, you'll become slower and you'll have to stop sprinting to regain stamina. You can lean in this game using the Q and E buttons. And you can also free look by holding left Alt and moving your mouse around. Letting go of the Alt button will snap the camera back to the way you're facing. This game does have variable crouch. So you can press the C button to go to a crouched or stand position based on the last position you were in, but you can also hold the C button and scroll your scroll wheel up and down to fine-tune the stance that you're in. This becomes important when you don't want to be sticking your head out too much, but it's also important when you want to be crouched and your gun might end up shooting in a place you don't want it to. The example on screen here might not be the best example, but as you can see, I can adjust my variable crouch so that the gun is just above the window here and I'm able to shoot inside. And now we'll talk about using the equipment you have in the game. When aiming down sight with the right click button, you can hold shift to zoom in slightly. By pressing the 1 key, you'll take out your rifle, but if you already have your rifle out and you press the 1 key, it will change your fire rate. The circle in the bottom right corner shows where the fire rate will pop up on screen. There is a way to perform a fast reload in this game. So if you press the R key, you will just do a normal reload. But if you double tap R, it'll do a quick reload. To select your grenades, you hold the G key, which will pull up the menu that you see here with frags on top and smokes on the bottom. Alternatively, you can just simply press the G key and you'll pull out a frag grenade. To see how many rounds are left in your magazine, you can hold the control key and press R, and I'll fire off a few rounds here so you can see the difference over time. And if you hold the control key and press T, you'll check all the equipment you have, seen here in the square in the bottom right corner. If you hold the J key, you'll see a menu pop up with all the ammunition that you have, and if you click one of them, you'll hand it out for a teammate to grab, and they can do the same for you. If your squad's been alive for a long time in this game, you'll likely have to share ammo with each other. Alright, now let's talk about the map. The map is very important in this game, and your watch is a tiny version of that map, and you can pull it up on screen by holding the tab key. If you hold the tab key down and then scroll your mouse wheel up and down, you will zoom in and out on your watch. Along the outer ring of the watch are the cardinal directions. At the center of the watch is a marker for yourself, and below that marker is a number bearing for the direction you are facing. This is great for making very accurate callouts. Just keep in mind that the bearing is based on your position. So if a squad mate is right next to you and you give them a bearing, it's going to be very helpful to them. If somebody is 30 meters to your left and you call out a bearing, it is not going to be as helpful. If you are making a call out to squad mates who are relatively far away, then you're going to want to use cardinal directions instead. If you press the M key, you will open up your map. On the right side of this screen, you'll see a roster for your team, and at the start of a match, your squad leader is probably going to chart some course for your squad to enter the AO. For example, maybe through the trees that my cursor is moving over right now. And if you have your map up and you're moving your cursor like I am right now, your squad mates can actually see your cursor on their screen, so you're kind of able to draw paths for each other. People in leadership roles can press the middle button circled here to bring up a list of markers that can be placed on the map. I like to use the arrows shown here to give my squad direction at the start of a game. And then there's these red markers people place on the map to indicate that enemy contact was spotted in this location. As you can see, now that the red markers have been placed on the map, they will show up on my watch. And so when I see those markers on my watch, I'll be prepared for the contact that was spotted directly in front of me. There are also some useful markers that will put a letter and number designation for different places, so you might find out that your squad's going to set up on India 6-2, and another squad's going to set up on Echo 3-3, and another one on Juliet 4-1, and those letters and numbers are found on these markers here. These markers can also be deleted by right-clicking them. Every member of your squad will appear individually on your map. People who are currently talking will be highlighted like you see here. These guys are in my Alpha fire team, so they appear as red. If they were in my Bravo fire team, they'd appear as blue. It's very important to pay attention to which fire team you are a member of and stay with your fire team. Members of other squads won't show up as individual markings on your map. Instead, you'll see these cards that represent the whole squad. However, if a fire team is separated from its squad, you will see it as a separate mark on the map. So here you see 1-3 Bravo to the north of the rest of his squad. If you're going to play Bellum, you're bound to get shot, so let's talk medical. If you walk right up to someone and you hold the H key, you'll open up the medical menu for them. Here you see a wheel that shows every part of their body, and the outside of the wheel is green, which means they're in good condition. If you just hold the H key on yourself, you'll see your own medical menu. If you get hit, you'll probably see all this red on the screen here, and you'll want to inspect the menu and see where the damage is. In this case, I was hit in my right leg, and there is an icon that says it's bleeding, so I'd like to apply a tourniquet to stop the bleeding, and to do that I left click on the right leg. But a tourniquet is only a temporary fix. The goal is always to get everything fully bandaged, and to do that I'm going to right click on the limb. Bandaging can take a while, so that's why you always want to make sure you're out of contact before you start doing so. Your screen might pulsate for a little bit as your guy gets his bearings again, and if you lost a lot of blood before packing the wound, you're going to want to call for a medic to get you a blood bag. Now, as you can see here, friendly fire is reflected back on you. So as you can see in the clip here, I shoot a friendly in the right arm, and when I open my medical menu, I see a wound in my right arm. The only exception to this rule is if there is a friendly who is lone wolfing it, so they're far away from their squad and they're just running around randomly across the map, and you can't positively identify that that's a friendly because they don't have a friendly squad marker on the map. They will not reflect friendly fire back on you, and they will in fact take the damage if you end up shooting them. This is by design to disincentivize lone wolfing and try to get people to stick with their squad mates. Communications in the game is pretty easy. The V key is local comms, and so if you hold V, you'll be talking to people in your vicinity. The B key is the squad channel, so everybody in your squad will hear what you say there, and any squad comms that you hear will come through your left earpiece. If you eventually take on a leadership role, you hold the N key to speak in platoon net, and you will hear platoon level comms through your right earpiece. So that just about covers the basics, but I do also have some general advice that might help get you through your first game. The first is making accurate and concise callouts, which is very important and can be difficult if you're new to the milsim genre. One of the common things you'll see new players say is "on me." In Bellum, nobody's going to know who me is, and it's not being very descriptive for what is exactly on you. Instead, try to remember the 3 Ds: distance, direction, and description. I like to say something like, enemy contact spotted, 150 meters northwest, fire team sized element. And you never want to exaggerate what you're seeing. If you see 2 guys, you want to call out 2 guys. You don't want to say, I see a squad over there. So remember the 3 Ds: distance, direction, description. In a lot of FPS games, it's often a quick fix when you get hit. In this game, it can take a while, so you really want to make sure you've broken contact or eliminated the threat before you start bandaging yourself or others. Third, as you're getting used to the game, you just want to follow the leader. The leadership positions are very fleshed out in this game, so you can join a fire team, follow your fire team leader, who is following your squad leader, who is coordinating with the platoon leader. Everything is being worked out in the background, so you don't have to pay much attention to the overall strategy while you get used to the game. The fourth thing is you might find yourself in a role that I haven't really covered here, like an assistant gunner role or a medic role, and I'd encourage you to ask your squad mates for help if you need it. Everybody I've played with in this game has been very friendly and welcoming, and very willing to help new players. And if you're playing the game during alpha or beta testing, just remember that it is still testing, so there are bugs being worked out. It's a very good idea to go on the Discord and go to the bugs channel and report bugs as you see them so that the developers can find them and fix them. If you've watched this whole video, then you are far more prepared than people usually are when they are booting this game up for the first time, so congratulations. And most importantly, if you are just starting to play Bellum for the first time, then I hope you have fun. It's a pretty serious game, but it's also a ton of fun, so make sure you enjoy yourself and have a good time. So that covers the basics, but in the future I'll be posting more specific videos on tactics, overall game strategies, and guides for specific roles like medic and squad leader. So make sure to subscribe if you're interested, and I hope to see you in the next video. Enjoy yourself. Bye bye.